At 6:14 a.m., red and blue lights painted my quiet driveway like the opening credits of a bad cop drama nobody asked for. A sheriff's deputy stepped out, hand hovering near his holster, and asked if everything was okay inside. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't touched a soul. I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee. Across the road stood Victoria Langford, clipboard in one manicured hand, smug little smile on her face, like she'd just single-handedly saved Willow Creek Estates from the apocalypse. All because I dared to fire up my lawnmower at 5:45 like I did every single morning for the last 5 years. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. That satisfied glint in her eyes said everything. Victoria Langford, HOA Queen of the cul-de-sac, had finally decided to teach the neighborhood weirdo a lesson. My name is Ethan Caldwell. Most people around here just call me the guy who keeps to himself. I'm not loud. I'm not flashy. I don't throw block parties or plant plastic flamingos on my lawn just to watch the HOA committee lose their collective minds. 5 years ago, I bought this old cabin on the edge of Willow Creek Estates after my life in the city finally chewed me up and spit me out. Burnout from 12-hour coding days, the kind of grief that doesn't come with a sick day, and a quiet need to hear birds instead of traffic. The place wasn't some Instagram renovation fantasy. It was peace on 2 acres of dirt and pine trees. I fixed the leaky roof with my own hands. I planted a vegetable garden that actually grew things instead of just looking pretty for resale value. Mornings were mine. Coffee, mower, a little welding on whatever project needed saving. No one bothered me, and I bothered no one. That was the deal. Or at least that's what I thought until Victoria Langford moved into the shiny new McMansion across the way and decided the neighborhood needed standards. Willow Creek Estates looks like the kind of place realtors describe as charming yet upscale in their listings. A mix of older cabins like mine tucked back on long driveways and the newer cookie-cutter houses that popped up like mushrooms after a rainstorm. The unwritten rule had always been simple: mind your own damn business. Retired folks waved when they felt like it. Veterans fixed their own fences without filing 3 forms. Nobody measured your grass with a ruler or lost sleep if your truck was parked in plain sight. Then Victoria showed up with her pastel cardigans, her community coordinator business cards, and the smile of someone who had never once been told no in her life. She organized the first casual neighborhood meet and greet, complete with printed agendas and little name tags. Everyone showed up because nobody wanted to be the rude one. She stood at the front of the community center in her perfectly pressed khakis and said things like, "We all just want our little slice of paradise to stay elevated, don't we?" With that honeyed voice that somehow made you feel guilty for breathing too loud. I nodded along like the rest of them. I even shook her hand when she complimented my rustic charm. Big mistake. 2 weeks later, the emails started arriving with a shiny new HOA logo at the top. "Dear valued resident," they began, as if we'd all signed our souls away in blood. Suggestions at first. Gentle ones. Perhaps we could consider storing equipment out of sight for a more cohesive aesthetic? Early morning activity can carry farther than one realizes. Maybe we could all be mindful. Victoria always signed off the same way. Warmly, Victoria Langford, President, Willow Creek HOA. Warmly. Like she wasn't already sharpening the knife. I replied once. Polite. Short. Thanks for the note, but my property predates the HOA and I'm not a member. Happy to be a good neighbor as always. Her reply came back in under an hour. We appreciate your cooperation. These things tend to work themselves out as the community evolves. Let's stay in touch. The smiley face at the end felt like a middle finger wearing lipstick. That's when the paper avalanche began. First came the county notice about possible noise ordinance concerns. Then another about visual clutter near the property line. Inspectors started showing up like it was a drive-through. One guy in a hard hat apologized before he even got out of his truck. "Sorry, Mr. Caldwell, just have to check something real quick." He walked around, took 3 photos, found 0 violations, and left. 2 days later, another notice. Different department, same polite wording. Environmental. Zoning. Fire safety. Each time the inspector would shrug and say, "Someone filed a concern. We gotta look." They never found anything. But the file kept growing. And every single time, Victoria just happened to be out for her morning power walk when the county truck rolled up. She'd wave. She'd smile that same toothpaste commercial smile. "Oh, Ethan, I do hope everything's all right. We just want everyone safe and protected." Safe. Protected. The words tasted like bleach. Neighbors started whispering. Old Mrs. Alvarez down the road got cited for her garden fence that had been there since the Nixon administration. The Wilson brothers were told their pickup truck detracted from neighborhood values. Nobody said Victoria's name out loud at first, but we all knew. She never yelled. She never slammed doors. She just filed, smiled, and let the bureaucracy do the dirty work while she sipped her oat milk latte and updated the HOA Facebook page with inspirational quotes about community harmony. I kept my mouth shut. I documented every visit, every email, every time-stamped photo of my perfectly legal mower sitting exactly where it always sat. I wasn't mad yet. I was fascinated. Because Victoria Langford thought she was playing chess when she was really just moving pawns around a board she didn't own. And the funniest part? She had no idea I was the one keeping score. The small stuff started next. My toolbox that I always left on the side porch somehow ended up 3 feet to the left one morning. Not stolen, just rearranged like someone wanted me to know they'd been there. Then my mailbox disappeared. The postmaster said it had been reported as non-compliant with visibility standards and removed for review. I had to drive 20 minutes into town to pick up my mail like some kind of criminal. A week later, orange traffic cones appeared overnight, blocking the exact spot my delivery trucks turned. No crew. No signs. Just cones. Like the HOA had hired invisible gremlins to do their dirty work. I still didn't confront her. I just smiled back the next time she casually strolled by. Morning, Victoria. Beautiful day for a power walk. She tilted her head like a confused golden retriever. Everything okay over there, Ethan? You seem a little tense lately. The concern in her voice was so fake it could have been sold at Party City. I almost laughed. Almost. The complaints escalated from property to personality. Erratic early morning behavior. Potential safety concerns. Multiple residents reporting disturbances. None of it was true, but it didn't have to be. It just had to exist on paper. One inspector pulled me aside after the 3rd visit that month. Off the record, someone's really got it out for this address. He didn't need to say her name. We both knew. That's when I installed the cameras. Nothing fancy. Just enough to cover the driveway and the gate. A few days later, the footage caught someone in dark clothes walking up my drive at 10 p.m., standing there for 45 seconds staring at my house, then leaving. The very next morning, another notice arrived. After-hours disturbances reported by concerned residents. Victoria had stopped pretending to be subtle. The final straw came wrapped in red and blue lights at 6:14 a.m. The deputy asked me the same questions 3 different ways while Victoria watched from across the road like it was premium cable. Anyone else inside? No. Any weapons? Just my coffee mug. Mind if we take a look around? Go ahead. They found exactly what I told them they'd find. Nothing. One of the deputies finally turned to Victoria. "Ma'am, did you witness an actual crime here?" She clutched her pearls, literal pearls on a Tuesday morning, and said, "Well, no, but I felt very concerned for everyone's safety. You understand." The deputy didn't smile back. He just wrote something down and told her, 911 is for emergencies, not feelings. When the cruisers finally pulled away, Victoria sat in her SUV for a long minute before driving off without a single word. That was the moment I stopped being the quiet guy who just wanted peace. I walked back inside, opened the drawer I'd been ignoring for years, and pulled out every single piece of paper that came with this property when I bought it. Deed. Survey maps. Old title notes. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for the truth. And somewhere between the faded ink and the county stamps, I found it. The land my cabin sits on was never part of the new development covenants. The original parcel had retained rights going back decades, rights that were never transferred when the shiny new houses went up. Victoria and her HOA had been swinging their little clipboard scepter over territory they didn't legally control. Not my cabin. Not my 2 acres. Not even half the road they kept claiming authority over. They had built an entire empire on a foundation of wishful thinking and aggressively ignored paperwork. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just picked up the phone and called the one land use attorney whose office still smelled like sawdust and common sense. I laid everything out on his desk the next morning. He spent 43 minutes comparing maps, then leaned back, took off his glasses, and said the most beautiful sentence I'd heard in months. Son, they've been playing dress-up in authority they never actually bought. The letters went out on crisp letterhead the following week. No threats. No drama. Just facts. The county opened a quiet review. Inspectors suddenly got very busy somewhere else. HOA emails stopped arriving like they'd hit a brick wall. Neighbors started texting me memes of crumbling castles. Victoria tried one last power walk past my place, clipboard clutched like a life raft. I was sitting on the porch drinking coffee. She opened her mouth, closed it, and kept walking. For the first time in months, the neighborhood felt exactly like it had the day I moved in. Quiet, respectful, and nobody's business but our own. Victoria Langford resigned from the HOA board 2 weeks later. No big announcement. Just her name quietly disappearing from every email and the community Facebook page suddenly going radio silent on community standards. The new president sent a single awkward group email about revising governing documents for clarity. Translation: we got caught, and we're hoping nobody sues us into next Tuesday. I still mow my lawn at 5:45 a.m. The birds still sing. The coffee still tastes better when nobody's watching. And every once in a while, when a new neighbor asks why the HOA seems so quiet these days, I just smile and say, turns out some empires are built on paperwork and prayers. Mine was built on actual deeds. So tell me, when a self-appointed HOA queen uses the police, the county, and every bureaucratic loophole she can find to control a man who just wanted to live quietly, was she protecting property values? Or just her fragile little ego wearing a pastel cardigan? Who's really the villain here? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one.